Hey, Coach, thanks for coming on. Let's just start with Zay Flowers. What does a stretch the field receiver like him, do for your offense and also for like Phil's progressions?
I mean, it just makes things a lot easier on game day to take the top off of a lot of coverages. When you can stretch the field vertically and lift the back end of the defense, man, it just opens up everything underneath. And then once those guys are just playing all those underneath routes, whether we're having run action passes and we got shallow crosses or just crosses in general, and those safeties are jumping them, you got Zay behind them on, post and deep corners and go routes. I mean, it's just, one hand wash the other in our offense, but you got to have somebody that can take the top off. And he's such a friendly receiver to throw to for Phil and those quarterbacks that just makes things easier when you got a guy that can really run. And they complement each other, in the pass game.
I just follow that real quick. Did that kind of account for the great yards after catch numbers you guys had last year?
Yeah, certainly. When as many footballs that we can throw where the receivers can catch and run, we're going to be in a much better position to, obviously, advance the ball down the field for first downs and touchdowns and explosives. But that's the design. We don't want to catch the football and fall down to play the end. We want to catch and run and the play starts. And we did a lot of that last year, where most of that stuff was we were catching those footballs in the run, and we continue to get big plays off of those type of concepts.
We'll go next to Asa.
Hey, Coach, what can you say about Kobe White this spring? How has he looked coming back from injury?
Kobe hasn't fully returned to spring practice yet. He is ahead of schedule in terms of his rehab and recovery thus far. But I know he is working his tail off every single day, pressing himself, pushing himself to get back. And I'm excited to get him back on the field here at the end of spring and going into summer, because he just adds another dimension in terms of leadership. A veteran who's played a lot of football, and he's explosive. He makes a lot of plays when the ball comes his way. So though he's not back yet, I have no concerns about when he does, return and join us, because he's going to be what he's always been, a consistent football player that leads by example.
We'll go next to Kevin.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Or I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, thanks. So speaking of Zay Flowers and Kobe White, last year, Zay told us that he had worked out with Antonio Brown. And then earlier this year, Kobe had said that he had worked out with, I believe it was Doug Baldwin. So I'm just curious, in terms of, stuff that they can pick up, outside of just at BC, how important is that? And how much do you encourage that for your players?
I mean, with our wideout group, we believe in this philosophy of Kaizen, constant, never-ending improvement. And just because you're not in this facility doesn't mean you can't get better. And as a group, we try to find ways to press ourselves, stretch ourselves, and get around as many people that have the knowledge at the highest level that have excelled. And those guys went out of the way to link up with people that have that knowledge, who's had a lot of success at the next level. And they've gone out of the way to make sure that they can get whatever they can, whatever nugget, whatever grain, whatever it is that they can get. They've gone out of the way and sought out that tutelage. And you saw last year, those guys had some success last year just by taking every little thing that they could get from everyone that had that, that experience. So we encourage our guys to constantly press themselves and find knowledge from anyone that has, that wisdom that, can definitely provide leadership for them and help engineer, big plays on the field.
We'll go next to Andy.
Jelani Galloway emerged in the slot last season. What was it like to see his progression, and where do you see him growing this year?
Well, he was a guy that didn't play very much prior to this staff getting here. And he was a guy that just had a giant question mark on what is he really capable of doing. And what I was really impressed with concerning Jelani was he was constantly pushing himself to get better, constantly pushing himself for his moment when he got in that he was going to be prepared. And man, there was times last year where he only played 4 or 5 snaps, but those 4 or 5 snaps, those are the best snaps that anyone had on the field because he was waiting for him prepared for it and they execute. So it's been great to see his transformation from last spring and last season into now. He's had a great spring thus far.
We'll go next to Trevor.
Hey, could you speak to the growth of Will Prouty and just what he's meant to the team and how he's pushed the other guys around him this year and last year?
Yeah, Willie P was a walk-on last year who we just weren't quite sure what was he going to be in our system because he played some quarterback in high school, and then all of a sudden we're going to transition him to play receiver full-time, and the young man is a really gifted athlete. The guy can run, he can get on edges, he can make people miss. He's got some maturing to do physically, body-wise, and Phil Matus and his staff have really done a phenomenal job of getting the nutrients and the actual strength conditioning program needed to help him get to where he needs to be because he was really slight. And Willie P showed us this spring that he can do a number of things. He's a really smart kid. And anyone that's played quarterback that's in my room right now, there's a high expectation for them to play multiple positions because they played a position before that required you to know where all 11 guys are on offense and then have some understanding and awareness of what's going on with 11 guys on defense. And Willie P, being a former quarterback, he's one of 3 guys in that room that have that experience. And so we put a lot on Willie P's plate to play a number of positions because he's capable of it.
And we'll wrap things up for Joe with Rich.
Hi, Joe. Just comment on using the wide receivers in the running game, whether it's, flanker reverses, jet sweeps, whatever they're calling it these days. And I guess Zay's capable of it. Are there any other receivers that you could use in that capacity?
Yes, certainly. Last year, we used Zay in that role. We had Jelani Galloway in that role last year. I think we've had Jalen in that role. We've had a number of people in that role. What it does for our offense is it allows us the capacity to stretch the defense horizontally, yet still have a downhill run. So if you go back and look what we did last year, we were able to stretch the defense on those reverses and those jet sweeps. We also had fake jet sweeps and we had downhill runs. We had fake jet sweeps, fake downhill runs, and we had play action passes. So all 3 of those things kind of went together and was able to create a great package for us. And we kept it every week because we had multiple guys that could do it. But having that in your system just opens up, a boatload of other things off of it.
Joe, thank you very much for all the time today. We appreciate it.
No worries, Jason. Good seeing you guys. I'll take care.